Oh, hi. Hi there. Welcome. Do you think it was funny? The E update. It's because my name's Elliot, so it's an Elliot update. It's just this. It's not an energy update. I thought it was funny. I'm Elliot. E. And I'm updating because I have so much that I could say and so much I'm going to say, and nothing I fucking want to say, and all the things I want to do, most of which doesn't happen on camera. But I love you and I miss you. So I'm gonna tell you some stuff. Mostly how I've been and how are you? Oh gosh. Isn't flow exciting? Yeah. I'm wearing my my snake sweater. It says bear wear. Where's the snake? It's because I shed in this sweater when I'm not feeling physically so I don't know, energized. I'm trying to negotiate the language around illness and sick and all that, all those lies. Because the last few days, it's Saturday. I was feeling pretty jived on Friday. I mean, like, if you're with me, you knew I was negotiating some pretty distorted and unfortunate emotions. Collective and, I don't know, transcendent, which is to say, ancestral and beyond. And then all my kind of like, I'd like to place myself for the weekend, and for all of my excitement to that end, my greater sense of being knew that the best possible use of my time was knocking me out. And it's been a long time since I've slept so completely. And I mean, without resistance. Anyways, in back in the day, I would have had many more other symptoms. And traditionally, I believe what I was experiencing, it used to be called sick. I could tell, and what made me really think this is that on a few occasions, I'd have almost like instead of congestion, and then like a and then like whew, instead it was like very like my congestion decompressed itself and just kind of flowed, in so much that on a few occasions, literally three maybe, I was like, huh. I felt like a kind of drip sensation, and then I went and spit, and like I'm like a real life physician by practice and by education. So in like diagnosing my like was it spectum, whatever. It's like, oh, and I'm like, basically, I'm like, my hesitation is sparing you some of like the grosser details, which isn't really gross at all, but It's like not necessary. Basically, I was like, oh, I'm like sick. But I've released most of my resistance to like the false idolism that is our collective imagined humanity. And I've never really jived with sickness anyways. Because in truth, I really truly wasn't fending off an attack. I wasn't bolstering any kind of defenses or anything like that. I was evolving and shedding. I'd gone through enough of a physical process that necessitated the next step, for which was like a little hibernation. And what was really cool about it, so sleeping for a few days can be really cool because it can. What was really cool about it was I've never had before such lucid like experiences in like my dream time. I've fairly like resisted any kind of lucidity while asleep my whole life. People are like, oh, lucid dreaming. It's like, oh, I'm awake when I'm dreaming. I can do this. I'm like, I don't fucking want to be awake when I'm sleeping. I don't even want to know I'm sleeping. Fuck that. When I'm dreaming, I want to be entertained. And that's it. That's it. That's it. Last thing I want to fucking do is like fucking control that too. No, I want to do this. I'll do that. It's like, fuck that noise. Oh my God. I'm already too fucking aware. I want to be unaware. And I don't know, in a blessed way, it's kind of opening up. Because I've always kind of remembered my dreams pretty well, except during the times in my life when I was like smoking a lot of pot. That's probably for the best. It was definitely for the best. I don't know about the dream part. I'm a little all over the place because there's so much that I want to say. And more importantly, there's just so much that ought to get done. And really ought to get done by those members of humanity, which is to say, not all humans. You have to be a human that feels like they belong to and with and for the rest of the humanity. Otherwise, you're not a human. You're an automaton, or like a vampire. But so much ought to get done by those members of humanity that haven't been helping. And not for lack of effort, but for lack of knowing how. And there's a lot of guilt and shame around that. So I appreciate that hurdle. And what you're witnessing is what you'll always witness. Whenever I categorize or question or place myself inside or outside any kind of bracket that is supposed to include or exclude me versus anybody else, and that's my figuring out how I'm actually not or am a part of that group. It's a good practice. It's very human. And in this case, for the sake of being useful, I don't mind brazenly exclaiming, what I wish was not true, but has had to be. And that's like the reality of our tragic mission, rescuing ourselves, rescuing this plane of existence, rescuing love that's been lost and too long forgotten. And that's one person can do a fuck lot, fuck ton. One person can do just about everything. Because one person is never just one person. There's nothing that isn't two. And let that inspire you as an aspect of your truth. So just about a lot of everything can get done by two. And too much has been. And it's time for that to change. Because we live in a culture that's been too long indoctrinated to follow along or be executed. That things happen to us. Good things by allowance, and bad things by permission. And too many good people have been kept in the dark. For their role, for their unique gift. Because it isn't to say that the fewest have been doing everything by choice. I only have two thumbs. My thumbs do what thumbs do. I only have two ears. My ears do what ears do. My eyes, I have three of those, but they're eyes, and they do what eyes do. And we are a humanity that is fragmented by body part, cobbled back together like Frankenstein's monster, and then made to believe that our ugly isn't beautiful. That our imagination isn't useful. And that our bright ideas aren't the best ideas. Because they are. And we are. And it especially is. We're not meant to die the way that we die. We're not meant to get sick the way that we get sick. And it's not impossible to reason why we do. In fact, it's all around us, this information. You just got to put it together and take some things apart. And you know what? Not everybody's supposed to do that. It's part of who I am. It's part of what I do. It's not me entirely, but it is part of my living my truth. I was sick this weekend. And my symptoms included a desire to eat more salad, just green shit, drink more water, smoke less, drink less coffee. Not that any of that's bad, just different and balancing. And then sleep when I was tired. It's remarkable because I could feel the absence of congestion, of coughing, of the aches of my body. It's a lie that you can't notice an absence of a thing. But it didn't happen. How do you know it was going to happen? Because it told me. Its absence was felt. You have more, like, you only have one sense. It just depends on how open or closed you are and how limited you allow each like membrane to be. And the membrane that connects me with other, more like viscerally and tangibly, which I insist on, beyond the limitations of my skin and the skin of my perception, of my visual like acuity. I don't know, I'm beginning to experience like astrolight as tangibly, as physically, as artificially. That's really cool. Just wanted to share that. And then I'm not unique in the expression of my sickness, illness, lie. And everybody ought to have the opportunity as a part of a team to be supplemented with that awareness, with that allowance, with that gift. Because the sacrifices that I've made as a member of our society is total in order for me to be human. I don't get paid. I live in poverty. Period. I'm like socially ostracized for how uncomfortable the truth makes people, and my unwillingness to subject myself to deception and illusion. I want better. We all deserve better. And it's ridiculous. Who gets what and for what and how. Even like the idea of charity. How ludicrous is that? You're telling me there's a cause that we're aware of that needs help. We're even in the limit, or the like the dank, dark corner that is the cave of our limited perception. We can figure out a solution to, and we're going to ask people to donate for the good of that, so that one day this problem will get solved thanks to your donations. It's like framing all the world's problems and how much it's going to cost. Who's setting the price tag? I'm not asking that question because it's so fucking irrelevant. Why isn't anybody else asking that question? Not for the answer, but that the direct, like, conclusion that can be drawn is that someone is. Someone is setting the price. And if anyone is setting the price, then you better believe you're being sold. And for cheaply. Quite frankly, I'm tired of being reborn. But as it turns out, there are like shells of rebirth. How many shells does a hermit crab go through in the course of its life? And is each one any less like its home? I digress. I'm a little all over the place because I kind of want to talk about each of these little things individually, but I have too much also that I can do for myself that I've been fucking to sleep for a few days and I want to get to. One of those things is getting rid of all of my shit. I have too much. Because I don't know where, but I'm moving. And even if I wasn't, I'd be still getting rid of all my shit. Because nobody owns anything. And everything that you think you own is what keeps you from moving forward with your life. Which is why no one can ever own a home. A home is something that you build. And then a home is something that goes wherever you go. And it's fucking tragic how someone like myself, and I want to venture like you, doesn't have, is stripped of the resources that allows one to make their own home. And I mean the means even for people like you and I to just be close enough together. Because home is where the heart is, and the heart is with your people. And even if you want to think of it mundanely, like my brother lives in the suburbs just out of the city. I have a brother and sister that live, across the continent in North America, in like the United States. This cousin there, that cousin there. Like, nobody lives with their family. Let's break it down even more. In the immediate family, we have a generation of people like my generation, where like moms and dads are like clothing themselves with the opposite gender toddler because they don't want to be indecent. How sad is that? And there's no judgment. I really mean that. That is just sad. Nakedness is not a thing, except a beauty to be celebrated. It is completely void of sexuality inherently. The taboo of nudity and the restriction of our freedoms is what has made our bodies into sexual pieces anyways. I can't walk down the street. I can't go where I want to go. I can't do what I want to do. So seeing what I can't see arouses my desire to be free. So hijack that and turn the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever your fancy is, into some tragic expression of demand for expression. This whatever, like, what do they call them? Whatever. I'm just gonna be like ignorant. They're like the tribes, the indigenous tribes that haven't been westernized. There's no such thing. Every like, as soon as culture touches anything it touches, it turns it into not gold, but gold, something to be commodified. Those people aren't jumping around, having sex with anything they touch, running around with their peckers all hard because they're like, oh, none of the women are wearing clothes. And it's not because they're not attractive. Don't be fucking ignorant. No, it's because our bodies aren't sexual things. Not until you hijack our biology so that our sexuality is turned on and turned off. And that's done entirely through media. That's done entirely through imagery, which is why it's just like increasingly vital that one stops prescribing themselves anything mainstream. To that end, I'm actually beyond making that something more of a like object from which we can connect as like people and a point of relation. I'm super discerning, and I've never really jived with plugging myself into anything. I just don't believe shit, and that's been tragic in its own way too. But with increased discernment, everything and anything is your own messaging. So I can watch whatever I want to watch. And that's definitely never been the news or some other bullshit like that. But I love me a good Netflix, and there's only really ever one story. And there's really only ever one imagination. And across time and across space, how we communicate with ourselves is multivalent. And that said, I'm even now, like, despite resistance, which is reassuring, because if there was no resistance, I wouldn't give a shit. I'm quitting Netflix indefinitely. All that fucking means is that I don't know when I'm going to start watching Netflix again. It doesn't mean I'm going to quit forever, because I don't quit anything forever. That's stupid. That makes no sense. How do you know? You can't quit something forever. You can just love things forever, because that you can know. That can never stop. But how do you like quit? I'm never going to do that again. Did you do it before? Why'd you do it then? How do you know you're not going to do it again? What if it happens to you? Is that still quit? Don't think like that. It's stupid. Don't commit to. Here's a little quote from, what is it? The Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Oh, with the cute little engineer who falls in love with Finn. I love it. So cute. It's like, like the future is not going to be built on killing, what we hate. It's going to be on like saving what we love. Then she kisses him and passes out. He's all like, "Oh damn, she like me." And that was super profound. Let's get inside. But it's true. You know when you can quit. You're like go stopping anything forever. You can't commit to that because it's too limited. You don't try and kill what you hate. You don't stop saving what you love. Ever. See how that's less of a commitment and more of a truth. There's only one commitment. You commit to the truth. And you live that. Every other commitment is fallible. You commit to something that isn't the truth. You commit to a lie, and you know damn right, one day you're going to betray that lie because you're committed to a betrayal, and that is going to be, in part, the wake-up call that is going to move a majority of humanity over the next year. Is their realization of the individual's acquiescence to betraying themselves and each other. There's going to be so much shame and there's going to be so much guilt, but there's not going to be anything that they can't heal and get through. I know this because we did it. And however different we may be, and I'm a big fan of differences, in that we're not different, we're the same. We're alive in love. Further, it'll be easier for them. If not, then fuck damn right. Like then they're not. Then I don't know. We're not paying attention because my life is about making it easier for them. Which is why it's time for different parts of our bodies to get up. For a dog. I've been feeding my dog what I eat. And before I implement any Robin Hood strategy that denies even the like flaky, just like illusionary hold that like the monetary system has on me. That's not the solution. You don't focus on killing what you hate. Save what you love. And every significant step forward on our path needs to be done with a hand held back and a hand held forward. So before I do anything of that sort, I don't want that to be the story we tell our children. This is how we first got free from the monetary enslavement. We figured out how to trick them, how to delete them and make ourselves free. Oh, I want to tell them that you, and then someone like you, or someone, because you and me, we're the same, so someone who's like opportunity, role, part of our team, was like Batman. It's like, Superman, what's your powers? I'm super. Aquaman, what's your powers? I'm badass. Wonder Woman, what's your powers? You know what? Never mind. That's obvious. You're wonderful. Batman, what's your powers? I'm rich. It's like, yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm not Batman. I don't know which one I am, but I'm not Batman. And like, the bat signal's lit. You know, like Batman, Tony Stark. But there's everybody's got like you got to change the system from 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, yeah. Trust me, I can fucking tell you that. More often than like I can tell. That's the fucking truth. And the best part is, fuck convincing anybody anything. I don't lie. And I'm not interested in validating, because that's not a thing either. When I see a brother or a sister that needs my help, I help them. There's nothing that I own that isn't theirs. If they need it, then I'm going to do what I can to go beyond need into like infinite supply, which is just presence and non-abandonment. I guess I'm going a bit into the tangent of this, and I'd rather kind of seclude it with its own post, but whatever, here we go. Part of the illusion of helping one another, obviously, it's like I said with the charities, it's like, let's just get all the little people to commit however much, because like if everybody in the world gave $1, we'd have $7 billion. That would solve so much. Like, yeah, but you know what? One of you motherfuckers could lose $7 billion and you would never miss it. So long story short, what happens next is the fear, the shame, the guilt, those hurdles, if they haven't already been navigated by such a person, then it's time for that. Because we all have to hurdle those barriers to our multidimensional existence. There are valences of existence through which we pass if we are to access our own power. No one can do it for us, and we can only do it together. It's just some of us, which includes everybody watching this right now and ever, will do it well. Most of that together is asleep. And I mean that in the most fucked up way, like most fucked up literal way. It's weird, but gosh, ain't all this. But we're awake because of our capacity for responsibility. And I've gone from making really good money to it not being good enough, to being wildly successful in the eyes of others, to a fucking weird outcast, ostracized for how confrontational his very beingness can be. Oh yeah, I go anywhere. It's like part of my superpowers. I go anywhere and people are like, wow, Elliot. Hugs, smiles. Just can't like be around too long because inevitably I'm gonna say something. That could be either them or me. That's gonna cause a question that we'll have to ask ourselves. And not everybody has responsibility to have time for that. Here's a secret. None of this is fucking real. At least not what we call real. It doesn't matter what we build. It doesn't matter the technology. That this shit none of this crosses valences. None of this travels spheres of dimensionality. It's all used to manage the thoughts, ideas, expectations, thought form creations of what does matter. And that's how we feel and what we think and where we go with that. So my poverty, I have to also now, I just recognize by saying it, I have to be careful. I'm rich, bitch. Straight up. Maybe I am Batman. Maybe I am Batman. Because I've never been more free. None of that, that can never chain me. And I've had to go through the guilt, the shame, the false sense of responsibility, all the conditioning of what I should be and what should and could and blah 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 blah. And while what that's looked like is very like my own creation, circumstantially, environmentally, others, you will have had, and you know what? I'm getting the inkling that someone that's watching this right now has certainly had to do travel and like get over those things, those obstacles to like your expanded ascension and descension, your expanding and contracting soul integration. And in this facet, fuck, man, I wouldn't want to be you. Because how it relates as far as when it comes to money in this way, uh, that's like a black hole. That's all you, because I don't know. Like my monetary pressures have been like here and there. Like I've come from a lot of victimhood. My parents are like the quintessential victims. I'm being super general, and by saying my parents, I'm even at that way. I'm being general, like my parents. You know what I mean? But it's a whole different ball game to arrive at the same place, like here, as I, and have like your tunnel of negotiation again of that facet of existential learning, being, evolving, having always had, or acquiring a great deal of, in any regard, alive in this time, being like superfluously financially abundant. The pressures of having a surrounding social sphere basically like threaten your existence if you call into question the validity of that influence, money. I can't imagine the level of secrecy to explore truly one's own sense of poverty when in the bank you have more money than 98% of the people in the world. But that's why we're a team. Because I can't negotiate what I'm negotiating and negotiate with your negotiating unless you do it and I do it and we connect as one in the way that we are and can, because that's just the way this is all run, yo. It is incredible the depth of deception and falsity that is the reality of even what like can be shared and known in intangibility and like physically of the world and reality, and how like far removed it is that you can't even speaking about it. It's really been cleverly done. Even speaking about the truth, it's like it'll get you like ostracized or um, claimed as crazy. It's like we are all stardust. We come from the stars. Yeah, it's cool to say that, but you know, like the stars are us. Actually, no, really, and we can talk about how. But the fact that is crazy, and it's less crazy to be like the stars, which are really just figments of our imagination as far as what we define them as. They're no basis in reality. It's like those are lights. We can measure light, so those are lights that are measured light. Thus, the stars are dark, and we make light and power by burning gas, by burning oil and gas. So that's what that is. And when we do our little experiments with, pressurization and and yeah, and heat and anyways, I'm fucking with I'm fucking my excitement and my humor is getting too much for the waves. It's just our children deserve better. And you know what? I'm going to keep coming back to that because we're children. And I don't care how much money anybody thinks that they have. what world, facilitated by the lie of the monetary system, are our children better off? Like, I don't even care how much, if you are just you're part of the elite, how is the world going to be a better off place for your children in a world where this is allowed to continue? And then what are you doing? And this goes for everyone, to make a better world. And then no matter who you are, sacrifice some part that you know you don't believe in. But it's hard. It's hard to get rid of. And do it anyway. So that you can free yourself from some part of the deception that makes you feel comfortable. So that you can connect more deeply with some part of the truth that is too far or too light to grab onto while holding on to the weight of a lie. And then allow that lightness to become what weighs you down. That truth that is lighter becomes your new heavy, becomes your new density. And only in that way are we all going to rise to where we belong. And it would be a collective descending if we were too high. In fact, that is exactly what other echelons of beingness and our own existence in realms of multidimensionality, they're running around being like, it's the dissension, yo. Because we all got to meet in the middle. And if we're all got to meet in the middle, that means all of us are trying to move towards each other in a direction. What I'm going to do, I'm literally getting rid of all my shit. And the idea makes me nervous. But it wouldn't be the first time that I've done something akin to this. It'll be the first time it'll be so complete. But I'm not beside you. And that's the only thing that matters to me. So anything else is just like a fake weight, weighing me in a place that I don't want to be. So that plus other things I'm going to get to. So right now, because I wouldn't really if I didn't write it in the title, but I got to stay true to my easy commitments. Anyways, it's like a commitment. I just said I'd do a tarot thing, so I'm going to do a tarot thing. I'll do a couple tarot things. And this is the energy moving us forward, right? Duh. It might be precisely also what we are allowing past us. Never to see the light of our eyes again. Ooh, that's quite the message. Whew. Shabam-a-wham. Oh, I like it. Okay. All right. See how I pulled that? It's like, I'm eclectic like that. Okay. So, crowning the read is the Emperor. What wanted to come out too was the Seven of Cups. But what came out before that, the two cards that really came out entirely of their own accord and in fullness was the Emperor and the Sun. This also came out independently. This came out last. Next to the Emperor, we have the Queen of Pentacles. That. Ace Cups. Ace of Cups. Five of Cups. In Judgment. Ten of Cups, Eight of Cups, Two of Cups. So we got a lot of cups. A lot of cups going in. In fact, what cups are missing? The 3, the 7, the 9. We're just talking about the number 3, 7, and 9. That's interesting in and of itself. And then this was, I don't know, a part of the deck. Half? Sure. Okay. Okay, what actually stands out to me most are, and this, I'm a sucker like that, the Lovers and the Two of Cups. Let me tell you why. Because the way that they're situating is, it's like adjacent, they're like besides each other. It's not a forwards thing, it's not a backwards thing. There's a lot of reversals occurring at this time. A lot of shifts in pace, shifts in direction. This is what cosmic alignment is. I have a very different interpretation of life. And what's true and magical is there is like a grand turning. Part of like my own resistance to life is I am a lover more than a fighter. But if you take my love away from me, I'll fight you. And over this last year, I'd say, I've really just been like screaming silently. I'm like, I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. Everything's always fighting. I'm done fighting. And just because I want it doesn't mean doesn't just alone make it true. And part of sleeping for 3 days and spending 3 days more lucidly than I have ever in dream state is the recognition that the world needs me to be a fighter. Which part of me is kind of like, yeah. That's true. I just don't want to do anything unless it's beside you. But then, beside the people that I care about, I can do anything. In fact, I'm down. I'm down to do anything. I just don't want to do it. We shouldn't have to fight to be together. That's bullshit. That's cruel. And that's like, interpret my words however you want to interpret it, because that's your liberty. But I also mean just like, that's all of us for any reason. And the sun of all these cards is the only one that's horizontal. And for me, that is a very divine expression of a change in orientation as to what the light gets shone on, and what the purpose of illumination is. Until now, it's been to find out. We live in a valence of reality that has been usurped, and the light has been subjugated to find that which hides, because the energy of the directing light is a hiding. When you are a thief, you look for the thieves, because that's your orientation. When you're a thief, you look for that which steals, because that's how you think. You are a stealer. And the light is turning to shine, simply for us to see our way, to light our way, to light where we are, and to light wherever we turn our bodies to go. Just not backwards, not on what was, not on what we've done. We don't need to turn around to know that. We turn inward, and our own light is what shines on that. We don't need the light of the sun to be doing that. In fact, for the light of the sun to be shining on our faces and towards our backs is contrary to life, contrary to movement forward. That's the only place where really the location for the sun sucks. It's like you're even if you learn to look at the sun, have it not blind you, it still blinds what's in front of you, right? For the shadow that it casts. And the sun is turning around. And so the sun is turning around, and so we have the sun illuminating the lovers together, moving forward. We have the winged lion, representative of the sun, and a kind of what's lost in depth here is the opportunity for exchange. There's like an infinity loop with their exchanging of goblets. Again, this shadowed man. This is like the sun shining on us. All we see are the illusions. All we see are shadows. And there might be one of those shadows that is truly right there behind us that is trying to reorient us towards the light. But it's hard to negotiate all of like the truth for all of the illusions that we create out of the shadows. It's like the clouds in the sky. It's like, I see an owl, I see a plane. I'm like, that is a plane. But no, I'm talking about the cloud. The cloud looks like a plane. The clouds look like however they want to look. If that's what you're trying to explain. But when it turns around, right, because this was in a reversal, like these were upright, yeah? But for me, upright means either turning in the wrong direction, at least today, or standing the right way in the right way. So there's a shift from domination, I want to say, towards towards what's coming, which is just like a changing of the God. Like, because I just see the white of his beard is now like underneath the red of hers, you know, instead of the white on top, it's now underneath. And instead of looking forward, you know, there's like a kind of looking down. It's inclusive. Plus, like, I don't know where you want to live, like that background or that background. Sign me up. For her, obviously. And this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Oh, there's the 9 of Cups. I'll let you interpret that on your own. But that's what's underneath there. Speaking of that red, it's like now, if you see, like that's like the red cloak. Now the red cloak is behind us, it's around us. We've turned and put the light overhead. And so instead of walking constantly into the light, we're walking into the cave, rather the cave, but the dark pathway. But like, to find the Holy Grail, the Knights of the Round Table, like separated from each other, and each went into the forest where there was no path, you know, where they've never been. Because the Holy Grail isn't where you've been. Your future isn't where you've been. And like the dark is only scary if you can't see in the dark, but plenty of things can see in the dark. In fact, if you turn off the lights in your room and allow your eyes to adjust, you'll see better than you did. Now, if you imagine a longer period of time going by, I'm sure your eyes will get even better. All the lights in our world blind us. It's not there for us to see. It's there to blind us. And if you think I'm lying, how well do you see? I'll tell you, I see pretty damn well, and that's despite. But I spend a lot of time in the dark. This ain't ever anything but a good card. And in the reverse, it tells me that it is coming. The true light, the true colors. Because that's the color of the sky when the light's behind you. It's like a soft, there's a softness that if you look further, it kind of gets darker, but where it's close, it doesn't blind you, it wraps you. You know, it's a gentle kiss, you know, and it protects you. Part of the sun turning around is us changing the direction that we've had to hang ourselves so as to actually get a good look at the truth. And so for all of us hanged men, and by men I mean people of the earth, in Mayan tradition, they've got, like, I'm a red spectral earth, or a blue solar night. Like those were my two. One is like the traditional Tzolk'in, and one is the like the dream spell calendars. But why I mentioned it is that Earth, what they call Earth, the god Earth, is spelt or said as men. There's a lot of tyranny when it comes to our language and the sounds that we make and the meaning with which, the value rather, of which are the words and sounds we make. But anyways, in our turning around, and we're posting camaraderie. And the judgment has been made, the dead have risen and been spared. The light has been shone, the way has been cast. The Five of Cups, I don't know, I'm a redeemer. It's how I roll. So whenever I see the Five of Cups, I refuse to see it as a bad thing. I'm like, fuck that, it's a good thing. For me, it feels like it's like, because you know what's really interesting about the Five of Cups that I don't know if like anybody's ever really noticed, that there's only two cards almost in the whole fucking deck, except no, three, and they're all here. There's only three cards in the whole fucking deck where the cups seem to have something in them. That's the Seven of Cups, the Five of Cups with the like supposedly spill, and the Ace of Cups. All the other cups seem pretty damn empty. And while Buddy's looking at the spilled cups, maybe he's looking at the spilled cups being like, like that's the direction. Whoa, there's a lot happening right now. Oh, that's not real. Anyways, I find it fascinating. And sometimes it's not the matter of looking at the spilled cups and being like, and not looking at the two cups that are oriented. It's looking at the three cups that are spilling and being like, that's you gotta look at you gotta look at what you want to pick up. What the hell is this? Anyways. That's obnoxious. Okie dokie. And the Wheel of Fortune, I'll say, is the end. Because it never is. Yeah. All right, that's that, yo. I hope that was useful, at least for a story to tell, a true writing. I'm going to mosey on my day and keep doing more of what I believe in. I'm admittedly kind of thrown off by this madness. That's all of a sudden. Because it is all of a sudden, and you don't trust things arbitrarily. Yeah, and this is not real. And if it is real, it'll happen again one day in a way that is meaningful. Because this is not. And if it is, if you're real, prove it. Thank you for joining me. I love you. And we deserve better. Which is why we have each other. I wish us everything. Until again, namaste.